Okay, have you ever felt that sharp, just undeniable twist in your gut when someone you completely trusted used your loyalty like a weapon? That cold, numb silence when the very people you stood up to defend suddenly don't defend you? Look, it's a harsh reality to face. But according to the source material we're digging into today, that betrayal isn't just bad luck. It's actually the reality of a world where people will often mirror your ambition just to get close to you, only to completely vanish once they've taken what they need. And this brings us right to the dark but incredibly pragmatic philosophy of Niccolo Machiavelli. His premise that people only see what you appear to be, well, it was never meant to coddle you. But it wasn't meant to be cruel either. Think of it more as necessary armor for survival in a world that, let's face it, doesn't always play fair. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding 7 psychological weapons straight from our source material that are designed to completely transform you. We're going to take you from feeling vulnerable and exposed to becoming mentally and socially bulletproof. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to systematically shift from a naive worldview to a highly calculated, strategic one. We'll be hitting 5 core pillars: the reality of the game, the armor of perception, the currency of control, the mechanics of power, and finally, the strategic mind. Starting off with pillar number 1, the reality of the game. We really have to set the stage here by understanding that according to our text, the world simply does not reward purity. Instead, it studies it, manipulates it, and ultimately profits from it. There's this massive gap between what society usually teaches us and how the real world actually operates. The naive view tells us that our integrity alone will protect us, that honesty is always noble, and that we should just forgive everyone unconditionally. But the source argues aggressively for a strategic view. It points out that integrity is easily manipulated by people who just don't have any. It warns that nobility without power is, well, it's essentially a coffin. And forgiveness without strict boundaries, that isn't kindness. It's just an open invitation for repeated betrayal. The winners in this framework aren't always the most moral. They're simply the ones who understand the game beneath the surface. Which brings us to our second pillar, the armor of perception. Here, we're exploring the source's 1st and 5th rules: controlling your image ruthlessly and never bleeding in front of wolves. Perception is, quite literally, lethal in this game. The source makes a really compelling case that your image is not just decoration, it is camouflage. It has to be crafted with the absolute precision of a weapon. Why? Because if you look average, or if you're overly transparent, people will just treat you as disposable. Your image needs to act as a deliberate narrative, a solid barrier between who you really are and what everyone else assumes about you. By keeping your true nature a bit hidden, you keep others guessing while you quietly execute your plans. Think about navigating a tense workplace or a high-stakes negotiation. You wouldn't just announce your entire strategy, right? You misdirect. You bait your opponent. It's exactly like a game of chess. You know when you catch yourself constantly over-explaining your choices or justifying your decisions to people who aren't even on your level? Every time you do that, you create a crack in your wall. You are literally paving a path right into your mind for them. The source advises moving in complete silence instead. By staying unreadable and guarding your depth, you actually weaponize their underestimation of you. The world, according to this text, rewards illusion, not transparency. Let them gossip. Let their noise be your cover. And this absolutely extends to your pain. Never bleed in front of wolves. The source is so emphatic about this. The world watches you much more closely when you're wounded. And they aren't always leaning in to help you. A lot of times they're leaning in to measure how deep the cut is. Showing visible weakness or sharing their pain with people who haven't earned your absolute trust, that just gives predators the exact blueprint they need to destroy you. You've got to process your pain in solitude and present yourself as steel in public, no matter what is breaking behind your eyes. All right, let's move right along to the 3rd pillar and see how this all builds. We're looking at the currency of control now, zeroing in on the source's rules about loyalty and human desires. We all naturally want to rely on loyalty. It feels warm and safe. Imagine a longtime business partner or a supposed best friend. But the source completely shatters this comfort zone, stating that loyalty is really just a contract written in invisible ink. It fades the exact second it's no longer convenient. People are loyal to their own needs, not to you. So the logical evolution of this is leverage. Leverage is power that stays put even when emotions completely shift. You don't beg people to stay with you. You make it so that leaving you just costs them way too much. And you do this by paying very close attention to their motivations, their weaknesses, and their hidden ambitions. The text actually breaks down human desire into what is basically an invisible leash. People aren't moved by logic. They're moved by cravings. If someone craves attention or approval, you give your praise very sparingly. That keeps them addicted to it. If they crave power, you position them close to it, sure, but you leave them just one single inch away from the final goal, so they have to keep working for you. And if they desperately need the illusion of choice, let them choose, but only from a menu that you designed where literally every single outcome benefits you. It's the ultimate magic trick. The puppet never sees the strings. When they're convinced, they're the ones pulling them. Next up is pillar number 4, the mechanics of power. This is where we synthesize the source's rules that power must absolutely be taken, not given, and that scarcity creates respect. It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that endless accessibility is how you earn loyalty. We think we have to be useful all the time. But the source argues that being too useful or too available actually just makes you a replaceable tool. You just fade into background noise. The vast majority of your perceived value, we're talking like 80% of it, actually comes from scarcity and intentional absence. Being accessible is only a tiny fraction of your worth. Making your time rare is what elevates your status. People do not worship what is common. They value what they have to earn. And you've got to match that scarcity with how you physically carry yourself. The world runs on dominance. If you're sitting around waiting for permission, hoping that respect will just be handed to you because you're a good person, you have already disqualified yourself. Asking for recognition makes you shrink. Commanding authority, on the other hand, means you don't wait for an invitation to the table. You build your own table and you make them watch. You don't wait for a crown. You craft it through undeniable results and a quiet, unshakable power that demands respect, without ever having to raise its voice. Finally, we reach our 5th pillar, the strategic mind. This covers the absolute, non-negotiable necessity of mastering your emotions to stay 2 steps ahead of everyone else. When you get betrayed, your gut reaction is probably to yell, right? To react loudly. But the strategic mind processes provocations in 3 very silent steps. Step 1, let the noise just echo in the background. Do not bark back, do not chase closure. Step 2, study the weakness that the provoker just exposed by lashing out at you, because they always expose something. And step 3, weaponize that truth, calculate your next move, and outgrow them in total silence. If they can trigger you, they can trap you. By not reacting, you retain the ultimate weapon, which is your control. Whoever stays calm controls the pace, and whoever controls the pace controls the outcome. That brilliantly encapsulates the entire Machiavellian mindset we've been unpacking today. The source constantly stresses that strategy is not cruelty. It's absolute clarity. It's having the awareness to see a betrayal coming from a mile away, making peace with it, and calculating your exit before the other person has even finished their sentence. To really lock this all in, the source lays out these core mental warfare affirmations. These are absolutely crucial. I reveal only what I choose. Loyalty is optional, but leverage is permanent. I don't react, I calculate, and I outmaneuver. I take what's mine, I don't beg, I build. My pain is my power, and my silence is my strength. I control outcomes by controlling desires. Look, these aren't just empty, feel-good mantras. They're designed to completely harden your mindset, decode manipulation in real time, and make you socially untouchable in a highly competitive world. So, after decoding all these psychological weapons, we're left with one final, really piercing question from the text. Are you ready to stop expecting fairness and start gaining power? It's a provocative thought, for sure, one that forces us to choose between living in constant reaction or moving with unshakable strategy. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Take these insights, apply them to your world, and stay untouchable.